Hello, America. Me again, Citizen Patriot. This is my real name. This is my real channel, just for me and you. You see my political side, and a lot of people ask me personal questions. Well, when you ask me personal questions, I'm going to go here, simply because it sort of keeps things in context. I have strong political beliefs, as you can tell. You can go to Citizen Patriot, one word right here on YouTube. That's Citizen Patriot forward slash, and find me there for my politics. But a lot of people ask me personal questions. So I decided to create this venue, and then I have another channel or two that I'd like to share with everybody, but it's hard to take someone serious when you get to know them and realize how silly they are or how funny they are, and everyone thinks I don't have a good time, but it's not all Glenn Beck, the White House, and global politics for me. Anyway, let's get on with the video. Recently, I lost a friend. Lost a friend in the sense of I didn't care whether he was my friend or not anymore after the discussion we had. And I'm going to be in all fairness. I'm going to let you know right up front. I'm sort of uncompromising. Wow, I look really tired, don't I? It just dawned on me. But wow. Anyway, he'd stopped by in the afternoon. Noticed I was home. Stopped by, said hi, and then asked me if I wanted to walk to a local bank with him. I was like, yeah, sure, why not? I'm not doing very much. I'd get out and stretch my legs. It'd be great. And on the way there, we got to talking about me and him and our personal lives and all the stuff that we had been dealing with. Well, we got to the bank, and to understand this bank, I live in downtown Denver. So there were two towers of a building with a gigantic atrium in between them. So it was an open atrium that was closed from the elements. And being November, it was pretty warm in there. Now, we'd walked in the door and we got to the top of the escalator. Well, instantly, I saw this bank's monstrous 40-foot Christmas tree with balls on it the size of my head. And I said, look at that, the state of the nation, and there's this monstrous Christmas tree standing right here in front of us, staring us right in the face. I said, that's a dirty shame. Well, apparently, at that point, I'm not allowed to speak out loud in social settings. I didn't know that. And at that moment, I guess he no longer wanted to stand with me. So he pointed to a place where I could go sit down, and it's fine. I'll go sit down, no big deal. And I realized that at that point that I had disgusted him. Where I sat, I stared at this monstrous Christmas tree. And I was just looking at this thing, and all I could do was look at the bank, and then look at this tree, and look at the bank's going broke, and look at this tree. And then I was just sort of disgusted. Just the same, he came out of the bank. We walked over to the escalators. We went back up the escalators and out the door. Well, instantly he began to chastise me about me voicing my opinion uh, to him, someone I thought was my friend in the bank. And it was weird. It was like I was a little kid that wasn't allowed to speak in public, in my mind and my freedom of speech. He looks at me and he goes, why can't you just enjoy a nice Christmas tree? Why can't you just go someplace and just enjoy something? And I can. I can. And there's a backstory to that, too, and that has to do with going to the supermarket and trying to strike up a conversation with him while we were in the supermarket. He goes, man, we don't even need to talk about that here. Why don't you just enjoy the magazines and do this, that, and the other? And I looked at him and I looked at the magazines, and of course, the grocery store aisle, it's every Inquirer, national tabloid, rumor mill piece of crap you can imagine. I looked at him and I said, you're not serious. This is the stuff that I talk about. This is the crap that's distracting Americans from what's really important. And you want me to stare at it and read it. And that was a whole other incident. Well, anyway, We're walking from the bank. So you know I'm sort of a dick in public. Not on purpose, but when you say something stupid, I hop all over it. Anyway, we're walking, and he looks at me and says, "Now, if you're good the rest of the trip, no shit. If you're good the rest of the trip, we'll stop at that new chocolatarium, and I'll get you some chocolate." And this suddenly put a little rift in between us. So, in true me form, we got to the chocolatarium, and as soon as he swinged open the door, just to be an ass, I screamed, "Chocolate!" He's going to talk to me like a 5 year old. I'm going to act like a 5 year old. Kiss my ass. So we go in there, and it's pretty standard stuff, nothing big, no big deal. It's, everything every chocolatarium in America normally makes, and a couple of things the chefs come up with that are special. But uh, he didn't get me any chocolate. Not a bit. Not even one little piece of fudge. But I didn't care. Treat me like a 5 year old. I can act like a 5 year old. Just the same. We leave the chocolatarium, and suddenly he starts mouthing up about how I guess I'm not allowed to speak in public and how we won't be hanging around with each other. And we had walked about a block away from the chocolatarium, and just as we got to that block, and he'd finally started talking about some of the things that I'd mentioned, and now all of his personal problems I listened to with an open mind. And he didn't want to hear anything about my problems, about none of my bullshit, none of my nothing else. So when we finally got to the corner, it dawned on me just exactly who he was and how many times I'd helped him in the past and what a real piece of shit he had turned out to be. Just hearing him talk, you'd be amazed. If you knew the whole situation, you'd hear it, and I can't believe you wouldn't do the same thing. But just as we approached the corner, he turned left, and I walked forward. And since then, he and I have never, ever talked again. I've been a true friend to this guy, through and through. He, his life turned around on him. He was homeless. I was in a position to be able to provide him with some space in my own home, and I gave that to him. I helped him work out some of his social issues. I helped him. I helped him with an apartment when I used to be a resident manager. Our I won't say friendship, but our sort of tacit relationship has lingered on for well on 5 years, and in the end, I find out all of this time that he was sort of a self-absorbed somebody, nobody. But by the same token, after I wasn't allowed to speak anymore, it was time to be an intentional ass, and I wrote it absolutely to the end, and formulated the end of our friendship at that moment. I knew what I was doing when I walked away. I didn't care anymore. It was right after Thanksgiving, and here's this monstrous tree. I mean, Thanksgiving casserole hadn't even been made yet, and here was this monstrous 40-foot, probably more tree, like I said, with Christmas tree bulbs on it as big as your head. And here's this bank, and I'm looking at this thing, and I'm looking at him. And, I can enjoy a nice 10-foot tall Christmas tree, but that's not what it was. It was this monstrous tree, and I guess maybe part of my anger was, the banks could live with a little bit more humility and show a better face of how they're trying to save your money, but these corporate buyouts and all these bonuses, they're simply not doing that. It's not what's happening, and America, we need to take back control of our country. But to my friend, adieu, farewell, later, sayonara, leave me alone. See you, everybody. Thanks for listening if you made it this far. I'll be back with some other stuff later.